Welcome to your midweek daily rundown with me, Dan Morfitt. This is the show on Channel 7 where we look at some of the day's big talking points and some little bits you may have missed too. Things up for debate on this daily rundown include the Labour leadership race, Nintendo shares and an Ice Bucket Challenge update. But first it's time to introduce the guests that'll be helping me wade through it all. Pop culture party warrior and the taste of a new generation. It's poet, stand-up and writer Madie Howard.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
I believe you're preferring Pepsi at the moment to Coca-Cola.
I am. How'd you find that out?
Amazing. And stand-up man from nerd and or geek and playwright with his wife, it's Doughty.
I should probably mention that my wife's not a playwright, but she does do nerd and or geek with me.
Oh, that's taking away some of her glory there.
Well, no, it's the glory she didn't have.
Don't come on with your fancy new haircut, Cal.
It's not that fancy.
Having a go at your wife 2 seconds in.
It's good to be here.
Do you want to say hello to your wife and maybe apologise?
No, it's all right. She's not watching.
Now, if you want to get involved with the show and have your say on anything we chat about, even if you're Cal's wife, please just tweet us at The Daily Rundown. Please, you will not regret it. You can follow us while you're at it. Otherwise, it'd be a wasted journey to our little bit of Twitter. And you never know, we might follow you back as well. Time now to look at our first story. Former Italian Prime Minister Giuliano Amato has said that Article 50 was never meant to be triggered. This is made more troubling by the fact that he actually wrote the thing. Article 50 is the treaty clause that will trigger Britain's exit from the EU, otherwise known as Brexit. Yes, that word is back. Mr. Amato, who helped draft the European Constitution, said he had written the now infamous Article 50, but that it was largely for show. He told press that he had specifically inserted the article to prevent the British government from complaining that there was no way to leave the EU. It was never meant to be used, so why was it there in the first place?
I think it's quite obvious why.
Yeah.
Because you can't just say, join the EU, you can never leave.
Yeah.
It's saying, all right, you do have the option to leave technically. We won't go into detail because you don't want to, since you're deciding to enter.
I mean, you can see why the British, or why we were a bit hesitant to want to join when there was no way to get out in the first place. Like, it says like, oh, it was just there because the Britons wanted it in there, but I think that's, even though I'm against Brexit, I think that's like a good thing to have in there anyway.
I thought all European regulations said that an emergency exit has to be close to you at hand in the event of a situation going awry, and that's what Article 50 is, isn't it? A European emergency exit.
In a way,
well,
yeah.
It does exist. So, yeah.
But by the sounds of it, it's not very well written.
Well, no,
by the sounds of it, they just put it in for a laugh.
It's very clear.
They could have put in a paragraph about ducks.
Yeah.
And called it Article 50.1.
It's very clear that it was never meant to be used because of how vague it is. It's pretty much in the event that a country wants to leave the EU, it has to invoke this article, and then proceedings will be made over the course of 2 years. If an agreement can be made in those 2 years, then everything's great. If not, then it'll be prolonged until that agreement can come into place. And that's pretty much it. Like, it's the smallest little bit that says, it's like the bit, like when you're trying to like cancel your Spotify subscription or something. It's like the smallest little box to find.
It's the terms and agreements.
Exactly, yeah.
Things that you just accept rather than trawl through.
Yeah.
It seems to be a very weird situation as well to come from a former Italian Prime Minister, and without wanting to sound xenophobic, anybody is a former Italian Prime Minister because they had so many coalition governments from the 60s up until only a few years ago. There was a different Prime Minister every other month. So for him to say this right now, maybe he should have had this argument before we had the referendum.
Yeah, maybe.
And then we might have taken it in a different direction. What do you think about that, Madie?
Well, maybe the people in government who were so keen to leave and to really hammer home the idea that leaving would be good should have researched the fact that it would take years to leave and that it wasn't very well written, apparently. You know, they should have known that. So I think there's an onus on them as well.
The EU is the Hotel California of political pants.
Yeah, pretty much. You mentioned about decades. It could take apparently up to 10 years for us to actually leave the EU now that we've like started everything going. That's once we've evoked Article 50. So it's like
Yeah, how long have you got left on your passports?
Not that long.
Oh, that's fine then, because the top of the passport will still say member of the European Union, and it will still have lots of facets in there that protect you as a European citizen when you're in other parts of the world. It just seems a bit closing the door once the horse has bolted.
He likened it to, when he said that it should never have been used or is never meant to be used, he likened it to a fire extinguisher, in that a fire extinguisher is never meant to be used. Like, you don't want to use it, but it's there in case you ever do need to use it, like if the building's on fire. And then he said, right now the building is on fire. It's like, oh, whoa, wow, all right.
That's a strictly scary metaphor for
it's very
a former
scary.
Italian Prime Minister. That's the problem as well. Is this now going to, I love the word trigger a lot of other European countries to want to hold their own referendums, because they now know Article 50 is a pile of bunkum, and that the actual process of leaving is so convoluted, so long and so stretched out?
Well, then I don't think they'd want to hold a referendum, because there would be no point. And also we're a bad example of what happens immediately after you decide to leave the EU based on very little fact or plan.
Essentially, we've been used as, like, we are being used as an example. So which is why when you see politicians saying, oh, we're going to try and get free movement still in, and we're still going to be part of the market and everything's going to be great, it's like, that's why the EU are pushing so hard back on that, because they want to say to these other countries who might be thinking about maybe we should leave, it's not going to work.
Surely
that way.
a Brexit is all or nothing. You can't pick and choose.
You should think so. Yeah.
It's not like having a box of Terry's All Gold and only keeping the orange and the strawberry ones because the caramel ones and the toffee ones aren't that nice.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can't do that. Except with some chocolates you can buy, like the hazelnut or maybe the strawberry creams on their own. Probably not the best example. So Europe. This is going to be a divisive issue, and we thought the referendum was going to get rid of that issue. It's just going to continue, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, especially with Brexit not being legally binding as well.
Yeah.
As much as Theresa May says that Brexit means Brexit, I think whoever took over as Prime Minister absolutely had to say that. If they had have said, oh, I personally was against it, therefore it won't happen, there would be a massive backlash.
Yeah.
So
and the fact that it still hasn't gone in front of Parliament, all referendums are just purely advisory on the state of the nation. Do you think there is an opportunity then that Brexit might not happen, and Brexit means meh?
Quite possibly. Theresa May said that she wants to be out by 2019. If there's enough pushback, or if there's enough squabbling about the actual conditions of our exit, then it could be even longer than that. We've got a general election in 2020. Anything could happen. It doesn't have to happen this way.
Yeah, and every day we seem to have conflicting reports about the economy. So today it's come out that the economy grew by 0.6% before the Brexit vote. The day before that we were told that British business is in a state of limbo at the moment because of orders not being taken because of Brexit. The day before that we were told actually the pound is bouncing back against the dollar and the euro, and that everything's hunky-dory. This yo-yoing is not good for anybody, is it?
Yeah, and I think the overall analysis is that the economy has suffered, especially immediately, and all of the economists, well, that I've read, have predicted that Brexit would mean bad things for the UK economy.
And it seems to be that's the case
That's
so far
what
anyway.
I've read, mostly.
Yeah.
The people that fought so hard for Brexit, though, and for leaving the EU, surely it's not just about money for them, even though money does mean jobs, productivity, the price of our supermarket basket. For them, it's more about sovereignty, more about not being underneath a different political union.
Yeah, but just because we were given a referendum, which we were given because it was in a manifesto pledge, that is why we were given it. So even though we were given the referendum and then there was a narrow majority from Brexit, we still have elected persons who are supposed to make the decisions for us based on fact, analysis, statistics, experience. So we've said a voice, an opinion, and then what happens next is ultimately in the hands of the government, just like with everything else. Yeah,
that's why they are democratically elected by us in the first place. Like, what they've done here is essentially asked for our advice, and we've, well, some of us, a majority, like the smallest smallest sliver of people have gone, we should leave. And then it should still be up to them to make a decision based on that.
It's amazing that both of you are coming across as you both don't think Brexit's going to happen. By the sounds of it, the former Italian Prime Minister who wrote Article 50, the trigger clause, still love that phrase, doesn't think it's going to happen. He still thinks it's a convoluted thing. There's people in Europe that might be humouring us now, or maybe be getting humoured because Boris is the Foreign Secretary, I don't know. Brexit, in your mind, is not going to happen, is it?
I don't want to say it's not going to happen. What I'm trying to say is that it's not a definite thing that it's going to happen. I think it's still a 50-50 chance of whether it'll actually happen or not. It very well might not.
And Madie, for you?
Yeah, there's still going to be questions raised and celebrity voices, which are just as influential as actual experts in different fields, and also government voice. And in 2020, I don't think it will be all over by 2020, and I think then the conversation will shift massively.
Yeah, big time.
I think the one thing from the whole referendum debate and finding out today that Article 50 was basically scribbled on the back of a cigarette paper is that we're not going to be not talking about Brexit for a very long time. It's going to be popping up on the Daily Rundown forever and ever and ever. In a way, I'm excited. In a way, I'm not, because in the middle of the office of the Daily Rundown, there is a box that says if you use the word Brexit, you have to put a £1 in it.
You're trying to get all your Brexits out now then. Does it count in here? Are we safe in here?
Oh, we should be safe in the studio,
cool.
because we're a current affairs and topical show.
Yeah.
But I've been told that we're not, and we've rolled up about £15 worth of cash in that bit alone. Right, that's the end of part one of the Daily Rundown for now. Still to come, Pokemon, money, gone, and the radicalisation of children. So get the kettle on, and the three of us will be back in just a few minutes' time here on Channel 7 with the Daily Rundown. Do not go away.